our next speaker, well, like they knew I like football, so they don't have to introduce a footballer. He's a former national captain for the Trinidad and Tobago national team. He has played with numerous of international clubs. It's so much, the list long, I can't mention all. But I just wish he was playing for Manchester United. We might win some more. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the coordinator for the Tunapuna constituency, the man who ought to have been the member of parliament for Tunapuna, because when he's in the Senate, he gives them pressure. You could imagine if he was an MP, he would have had them running. He's currently one of our hard-working senators, hard-working coordinators. Let us all please welcome Senator the Honorable David Nakhid.
What don't kill you should make you stronger. So my problems is like steroids, boy. I get my doses from all kinds of sources, and all of them still can't kill me now. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, I put this flag before you to point out that justice anywhere, injustice anywhere, is injustice everywhere. And remember that during the course of my conversation with you. Our beloved political leader was brave enough to make the announcement that we are in support fully with Guyana. Fully with Guyana. And what was told by the PNM, that she was only saying that because of the East Indian government that happens to be in Guyana. That is the modus operandi of the PNM. They can never deal with the issues. So they have a foreign minister, Amy Brown, who is a square peg, always in the wrong hole. And he never seems to understand that when it comes to international affairs, nothing is taken off of the table. And our political leader understands that. And that is why she made that statement. Because you cannot say, like they have said, the PNM, no negotiation, no mediation. You cannot say that in international affairs. Because you have to leave room for you to negotiate or mediate on behalf of Ghana. And that is a fact. And our political leader realized that. So you come from a position of strength, like her statement, and then you work. But the PNM sadly doesn't understand that. And now we are faced with a government who, not recognizing the injustice that Venezuela, and by the way, the reason I put that there, Venezuela, who happens to be firmly on the side of the Palestinians against the Zionist apartheid regime, how can that be so hypocritical that they recognize what is taking place in Gaza with the Palestinian people and then want to perpetrate that same occupation against our brothers and sisters down south? How is that possible? And that is why we say we are in support with the political leader's statement, our political leader, that we are with Guyana. So we go from the international, as my brother Hamdan Jailal always says, we go from the international to the local. Because everything comes back to us here. What do we have here? In Tunapuna exactly. I heard a lot of speakers mention the crime, Brother Hamdan Jailal mentioned the crime that took place 600. Let me be more specific. In 2022, in the North Central, which Tunapuna is now part of North Central, it used to be Northern Division, now it's North Central, Northeastern. In 2022, we had 44 murders in North Central. Tunapuna, St. Joseph, 44 murders. You know how many we have now in 2023? 68 murders. 68 murders. So when Brother Jalal makes the statement that we don't know who's the next one to get licked down, that is accurate. Tell me one time, have you seen the MP for Tunapuna? Ford. Not on board with Ford, or on board with fraud. When have you seen him, or his leader, Keith Christopher Rowley, who came to Tunapuna one time, and that was before elections in 2020. In 8 years now, he has come here one time, only to get the votes of the people of Tunapuna. Murders, serious indecency, serious aggravative crimes, criminal behavior, larceny has all gone up in Tunapuna. Did Keith Christopher Rowley come one time? Not once. They had a community center meeting. He came for 5 or 10 minutes and that was it. So when our speakers talk about how urgent it is for us to win Tunapuna, we can't just shout to the highest heavens, yeah, we're going to win Tunapuna, we have to win Tunapuna. We have to understand how we want to win Tunapuna. We have to understand that we cannot be the same as the PNM to win Tunapuna. We cannot look at Tunapuna in isolation. El Dorado here, Ozenville here, Marcus. And we have to see injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. So when that crime takes place in the zone, us who have it a little better in El Dorado, and you know what I mean if you're from Tunapuna, we cannot say, well, that happening in the zone, that happening among the gangs. They are our children too. They are your children too. And I know some of the mothers here sitting right before me. You care. You care. And you want the capacity and the facility to care about what is happening in the zone. 2 days ago, somebody ain't got licked down in Fairley Street. Again, every other day, somebody getting licked down. But they are our children. What are you going to say? Just leave them? They're part of a gang? That is the PNM. That is their narrative. Because they don't care. They are part of a gang. But what policies have you put for those same youth in 8, as Brother Jaila said, 9 years, to stop them from crime? How many times did you send Ford, who you could see in every funeral? All of them used to be happy with that. Every funeral you see in Ford. Every birthday party you see in Ford. He getting big and fat all the time. How many times you see him go and have a meeting with these same youths in the zone? They don't care. If you see Ford and Rowley and Hines, they're talking with who? Business chamber leaders. On where? The Eastern Main Road. They can't even go into the zone. But that is the zone. Where Jesus Christ went to? Jesus Christ went to who? The wealthy? He went to the sinners. He went to the poor. If you want to solve crime, who you going to? You don't go and make a deal with them. You go and talk to them. You go and present policies and programs to them. And that's what Kamla Prasad Bisasa did. You know how many programs Kamla Prasad Bisasa had running? MIC programs, Milad programs, TechVoc programs. Every year, UNC was graduating 6,000 disadvantaged youth from the communities that are underserved. 6,000. Nursing school, exactly, Brother Big. You know how many the PNM has graduated in the last year? 400. 400 compared to 6,000 every year from Kamla Prasad Bisasa. Now that might sound neither here nor there, but let me give you an example. Under the UNC, the murder rate was what? 300, 320. You know what's the difference to get that to 600? You had to be some kind of crazy incompetent with a country that has the resources we've had to be spending $6 billion, $7 billion a year on national security. And you have the murder rate not going up 20% or 10%, but going up 55, almost 60, 70% compared to the UNC. That means not only you don't have any plans, you don't have any care. And that is the disconcerting thing as far as we are concerned about the PNM. You have to show a modicum of care. But you have Rowley running all around the globe as the biggest businessman that Trinidad and Tobago has ever seen, negotiating everything. Now, since when you've seen a prime minister who's responsible for policy and policy implementation, going and do business deals like he is Sabga? But better we put Sabga president or prime minister. You cannot be responsible for crime reduction, policies to prevent crime, policies for healthcare, policies for education, and not be around in Trinidad and Tobago. You outside more than you inside. And that is significant, people of Trinidad and Tobago. That is significant for you, the people of Tunapuna. I'll tell you why. When I talk about education, I heard somebody mention GATE. I'll bring it home to you. As we say, all politics are local. Tunapuna Secondary. Do you know Tunapuna Secondary, until now, doesn't have a sixth form? Have you ever asked yourself, why? Tunapuna Secondary, with all the poor, dilapidated infrastructure there has, I know, I go there and check out the school. I have a very good contact with the PTA. Tunapuna Secondary still produces, gets 5 passes, 95% of their students. Isn't that wonderful? 95% get 5 passes or more. A lot of their students go where? To the prestige schools after, in Form 6. You know that? Hillview, Asher Boys, they go St. Mary, some of them. And until now, the PNM who has been in charge of Tunapuna, for how many years? 40-something years. They can't find a sixth form for Tunapuna Secondary to service the people of Tunapuna. So sometimes I had a mother call me, begging me. Her daughter had 7 passes. And this is where it involves you. This is where your vote matters. Her daughter had 7 passes, and she couldn't find a sixth form for her. I had to be calling down Central, down South, to try and get her in a sixth form. So don't think it's just statistics you push out. These are the things that come to your household sooner or later. Your daughter gets 7 passes, and she can't. So I went and take a look at the school. The school has enough space for a sixth form, by far. You have to the eastern end, you have a big space there. You could put labs, you could put a sixth form. You think these are things with a forward-thinking government, with a leader with vision. Because as someone just mentioned to me, everything rises and falls depending on leadership. So when you see these things, and you see something, just a microcosm of what is the bigger failure of the PNM, Tunapuna Secondary School. And you look at that, they could keep the field, which is a nice aesthetic, and you could put a lab, you could put 2 labs, you could put a sixth form, and you have the Tunapuna people served. They don't have to be running all over the place. But that calls for vision. That calls for some leadership. That calls for an MP who has some ideas. Let me tell you, this is a serious thing. This is a serious thing. Because not only education is a way out of poverty, education is a way out of from a lower middle class lifestyle to upper middle class lifestyle. And that is what I'm afraid of when it comes to our people. Our people, the base of the UNC, we have used education. We have sacrificed for our children. You know that? Our people have sacrificed. What we used to say, suck salt, to make sure their children get education, to send them to university, become doctors, lawyers, so we could generate wealth, generational wealth. But what are we doing to those little boys who end up in the zone, out of school? Half of them failed at the SCA level. Half of them failed. Even more so, getting passes at Form 5 level. Where you think they're going to go? I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that unless you address the issue at the root, and not at the penal, and this is where the PNM loves to see our youth in the East-West corridor. Because you know, my concern is the East-West corridor. They have no problem seeing our young men and girls, meeting them in the penal system. So they come and tell you no bail, put pressure on the UNC, no bail, lock them up. While Kamla Prasad Bisasa and the UNC, what we say to them, hold on, before you come with the no bail and the more punishment and the more fines, let's see if we can help our people at the developmental level. Just like all the UN programs suggest, just like all the first world countries suggest, what programs and policies can we put in place? And I promise you, and I make this commitment to you, whether I'm in Tunapuna or not, that should UNC come into government, Tunapuna Secondary School will have a Form 6 for the children, boys and girls of Tunapuna. And we're going to revisit a lot of those schools around the country. A lot of those schools around the country, we're going to revisit them. St. Charles, a lot of them that have the capacity and the facilities to have sixth form school. And that is very important. We cannot have our children flailing. So as I wrap up, I'm glad I heard a lot of speakers talk on broader issues, but I wanted to give you an example, just one example, in your own community, of the crime, the education, and how important it is for us. While we talk in high tones and with lofty ideals, unless we double our efforts to make sure we get the people who did not vote for us, we go into those communities, among yourselves, among your friends and your family, and we get them to come out. Because, to be honest, unless we come and we vote for UNC, all the talk doesn't make sense. Unless we're in government to help you, we cannot. So when we look on the crimes, whether they be in Palestine, whether it be in Trinidad and Tobago, it might break our heart, but never let it break our spirit. We remain resolved to bring justice and equity for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and we ask you to join us in that fight from now until 2025 to make sure that the UNC returns to government. I thank you, people.